Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to the Happiness Discipline Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Greenspan, and I am very excited to have Bo Eason on here. Me and Bo relate in many ways. Grew up playing football. His career took him a little further than mine did. Over the last few months, I've had the chance to work with Bo and get to know him and see how he commands his family, his business, and everyone that he impacts through his business. He helps people, I don't even want to say speaking because it's so much bigger than that. It's storytelling, and there's actually like an element of like finding confidence and clarity in yourself to help you present better, whether it's on stage or something like that. And I've just been nothing but impressed by Bo. And in these sometimes business conversations, I've wanted to pick and pry and learn more about him. And I was like, I got to hold you down for a little bit. We got to do a podcast. And most importantly, Bo, I've never seen you not with a smile on your face. So perfect candidate for the Happiness Discipline. Thanks for joining.
Wow, I didn't know I fit that description. Wow, that's good.
Yeah. Well, Bo, I want to start off by asking happiness. What does that mean to you?
Now, start off with the toughest question in America.
Yeah.
Wow. It really complex, especially in my life. Like I love the Declaration of Independence. I kind of wrote a book based on, what that meant to me. Like, instead of calling things dreams or goals, I call it a declaration, just because I remember learning about the Declaration of Independence and going, wow, okay, guys wrote this thing like 250 years ago. I didn't write it. They wrote it. I wasn't related to them as far as I know. Yet I bring their document, their declaration into existence every day of my life. We all do. Yeah. All of us Americans do. And so I always call it a declaration. So anyway, Declaration of Independence, pursuit of happiness. It's so weird because I'm a pretty happy guy. I think, but it's never really been my thing. It has never really been the thing that I'm chasing.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've always chased, what it is to be like world class or elite or the best in the world at something. That's what I've really always wanted. And I notice that I feel this emotion called happiness when I do achieve that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It happens. And then if I really dig down in the weeds and think about it, like the whole journey, these 20 years or whatever it takes to get there, I even through the pain, I'm pretty happy. Right? I don't admit it. I don't walk around going, hey, I'm happy. Or I don't go, I'm chasing happiness. I'm not like that, but I'm chasing something that makes me happy, if that makes sense to you. Also, Sean, I love, I don't know if you know, there's a kind of a famous letter that Martha Graham, of all people, who was, one of the greatest dance choreographers in the world, Martha Graham. And she had this whole style on Broadway. And, everyone talks about her. And there's kind of a famous letter that she wrote to one of her dancers that wanted to quit dancing. And it was basically what the letter was saying to this young dancer was, there's only one of you in all of time. And if you quit, then that expression will not be, the world will not have it. And toward the end of the letter is my favorite part. And I have the letter here, but just the last couple sentences is really cool. And I think this is good for the subject matter we're talking about. This dancer who was quitting was not satisfied by dance. And so she addressed that in the letter, Martha Graham. And she says, no artist is pleased. There is no satisfaction whatsoever at any time. There is only a queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the rest. And that's how she ended. And I've always kind of loved that letter because a lot of times when you're in pursuit of something, especially in the arts, bringing anything into existence, I'm like constantly have this dissatisfaction. And she put it into words like this, there, all you can expect is this queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest. I think I feel that more than anything, right? But that could be happiness, right? That could be joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What an interesting way to think about it, because I'll tell you one thing. I relate to that, right? Uh, I didn't, I, my team makes fun of me. I have a team of 20 plus full timers, and I believe in celebrating. I actually think celebrating is one of the reasons that we're on the planet, but I believe in celebrating big wins, right? We just launched a campaign with you. It's doing well. We got on the team call this morning. I said, hey, one thing we're doing, Eric, crushed on this. And then I follow it up immediately with, now tell me what your new goal is. Like, let's keep it going, right? It's a dissatisfaction of, like recognizing where we are, but wanting to progress. I think it might be like deep in human nature to want to always progress. And I don't know what it is. Another thing, and I'm thinking back on the words you're saying, after football, I started an ultra marathon career where you basically need to be like not athletic, not fast. You just need to be really gritty. It's like either hike uphill or jog really slow for an incredible amount of time. And I find during those races, I'm going to use the word joyful as you're using, but there's clearly an unrest, right? I get into this 80-mile mark of a 100-miler. I have 20 more miles to go. Like, you keep having to push it, but like, it's like, I don't know. The chase is what's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think that's probably why in the Declaration of Independence, they didn't say we had the right to be happy, but they said we had the right to pursuit of happiness. They didn't say you just get happiness,
Yeah.
you have to pursue it. I think that's
Yeah.
probably exactly what, in a different way, is what you're talking about and what I'm talking about, which is this
Yeah.
game.
This is fun. The wheels are turning because my favorite book ever is The Way of a Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman.
Yeah.
And I read it. I read it again. I contacted him. I went up to Brooklyn and we had lunch together because I was like, this book such an impact. And I said, I have a question. I was like, this isn't a how-to book. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, otherwise the title would be The Way to a Peaceful Warrior. This is the way of. And he was like, yeah, there's nowhere to get to. He's like, It's just, and this is a quote from the book. He says, you're either a warrior or not in the moment. It's not like, hey, I'm a warrior. I'm permanently a peaceful warrior. I'm good. It's like, no, like, yeah, you're a warrior now, but if you let that perception go, you're no longer that warrior.
Right. It's great.
Where do you think the word fun comes into happiness? Like fun and play.
Yeah. Man, you know what, when you say fun, it always reminds me of a coach I had, and my brother also, because my brother was a teammate of mine in grammar school and in high school. And then we went to different colleges and we played on different pro teams. But when we played together, he would always just look over and goes, have some fun, man. Have some fun. Let's go. And I would be like so nervous. I would go, what are you talking about, fun? And he's like, have some fun, man. And because he was just lighter. I was like,
yeah,
trying to work through my emotions. And he was like, hey man, this is a game. Let's play.
Yeah.
Let's get after it. And he still does that to this day when we go out and throw with my when he trains my son. Still to this day, he goes, hey man, have some fun. Make some mistakes. So that's how I see that word. And once you have the freedom to make some mistakes or to be a little bit playful, then all of a sudden it's not so stressful. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is actually a game. But I was, as a kid, I just think I was so locked in on the result of that game or that,
Mhm.
competition instead of like the process of it and the fun of it and the play of it.
Yeah. Dawn on a call that we had recently mentioned that you're doing what 100 push-ups a day or something like that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I just saw a guy say that he's doing 100 push-ups a day. Like that's how I operate. Like if I see on social media some dude, hey, if here's what happens if you do 90 push-up or 100 push-ups for 90 days straight. Here's what happens to you. And they showed like different body parts do this and do this. And I'm like, I'm going to do that cuz I
Yeah.
I I just don't do I don't enough push-ups anymore. And I go, let me just make a habit out of it and do it. So I do that kind of stuff all the time, especially when my kids have, they're really great athletes and they have mental performance coaches. Like we didn't have that back in the day,
Yeah.
but they do have it. In fact, my son has two, and they're great, great guys, and they really are helpful. And I'm always asking my kids, well, what they teach you today? And they'll tell me like some habit they want them to start or some, action they want them to take. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do that with you. So I just
Yeah.
do whatever they're doing. Like one of them is um, uh, Axel's coach told him that because Axel was talking about competing with quarterbacks and competing with other
Yep.
quarterbacks and other players and other teams. And he said, no, that's not really your competition. Your competition is three things. And if you defeat those three things every day, you won't have to look at the competition. You won't have to look at the scoreboard. And I said, well, what were those three things? Because I want to do it too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he said, number one is you have to nail your voice. So your negative voice, you have to compete with that and beat that every day. Second is your prior self. So your former self, dragging that history with you. So leaving that at the door and being resolved that you're brand new on this day. So you have to win that competition. And then the third is your cell phone. So if you can beat your cell phone and your positive voice and your prior self, then you never have to look at the scoreboard again. And I'm like, I wish I knew that back in the day because I
Yeah.
think I would have been able to be even, more successful at a sport and wouldn't even have to look up at the scoreboard because I remember always looking up at the scoreboard going, you know, how are we going to score? Well, how are we going to stop them? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I just love that concept. So I like the process of greatness or whatever you want to call it, world class, gold medalist. I like the process of it. I don't know why. I fall in love with that, and which is why I'm able to do it for many, many years and not get bored
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
And then it's
I used
true. It's kind of true in my son's case. It doesn't matter what any other quarterback's doing. If he beats those three competitors, he's going to be in good shape.
Yeah. Cell phone one's getting harder and harder. It's funny. I've read a lot of books about the concept of trading good for great. And it's really interesting. Actually, this all started when I was having a conversation with my dad. I go a year without watching TV, except football. I can't stop watching football. But like I would say maybe 5 to 7 years, like I haven't watched TV like at all, like not a
Wow.
show for a year. And my dad takes a little bit of like personal offense when the topic comes up because he watches a couple hours before work and several hours after work every day. And he spends a lot of time watching on the weekend. So like, it's kind of like an attack to him, like, oh wow, like you're like shunning a big portion of my life. And he's like, TV's not bad. I was like, who said TV's bad? You know what else isn't bad? Your phone's not bad. But is it greatness? Like if I'm sitting and watching TV, is that great? Like, and that's where there's also another book I'm in the middle of for the second time called The Comfort Crisis. Like
Oh yeah, I
we
know
could
that one.
live,
Yeah.
we could live fed 72 degrees, like well rested all the time. And, is that the best? I'm not here to say, but I'm here to certainly say, like, you have to at least explore like what it's like to be uncomfortable and realize that, like, oh, I survived this one. I
Yeah.
think that's great. It sounds like, so going back to the beginning, you mentioned, hey, I'm not on a journey of happiness. If someone says, hey, what's your biggest goal? To be happy, right? You want to be great. You want to be gold medal, number one. But it sounds like you have done some good pattern recognition. I like this. This is what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
And you've fallen in love with the process. So it does sound like you've taken time to think about what makes me feel good, peaceful, joyful, happy, excited, whatever, whatever positive energy out there. And then are being disciplined about like making that your life. And like, I don't know, are you saying no to things that don't align with, your core values of family, business, health?
Yeah, all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I once learned this one little exercise, and it would be good for your audience if no one's heard of this before. And it's called your never do again list. I love it. I love I, I love learning that you get to the top by elimination, not by a to-do list, not by adding things to your day. You actually get to the top by taking things out of your day, elimination. And
Mm.
I just remember this one particular year. I go, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to have any wine. Like we're having wine at dinner and stuff like that. Okay, I'm not going to have any alcohol for a year. And I did that, and I just felt like completely different. And it wasn't that hard. It sounds hard, but it was
Yeah.
fairly easy where I've eventually forgot about it. Right. And so there's certain things that there's one thing that I put on my never do again list. And you know what it was? I told my
Mm.
team a few years back, I go, I don't want to be on the phone ever. No phone. I don't want to call anybody. I don't want anyone calling me. Isn't that weird? It for me, it took a lot of willpower to get on the phone. It took a lot of willpower to answer the phone and then have a conversation. And it's strange, but my team goes, okay, no phone. And we eliminated the phone. Now, look, I still talk on the phone like, to, if one of my kids calls me, I'm going to talk to them, right? But it's just such a relief, and it opened up this big tank of oxygen for my life to not think about ever having to be on the phone again. Felt really good to my growth. It just felt really good to have that time back and that energy back that I don't have to spend thinking about being on the phone. Oh, Bo, we've made a phone call for you. And I'm like, oh, come on. You see what I mean? So it's eliminating things. And I've really been good with my kids about this. They're really good, contrary to popular belief, at getting rid of stuff. Like you can eliminate some stuff out of their lives. It just makes it a straight, direct path to the top. Because all these things that they don't want to be doing anyway, these energy sucks, these parties, like parties for me is I'm not great at parties. Because I'm not great at small talk. I'm not great at like, yeah, how you doing? Oh, good. I'm just not, I don't want to have that conversation. If we're having a conversation about what it takes to be the best, then I get all this energy and I love my life. But when I have to talk about how are you doing? What's going on? How's the onion dip
It just doesn't captivate me either, Bo. Bo, so one of these days I'm gonna put the attention into my social media that I do into my clients. And here's my idea. I want to go around with a microphone in the street because I don't like small talk either. And just go up to people, do you like small talk? And if they say no, just hit them with like a deep question. All right, what's the number one lesson your father taught you? Like just like just dropping in. And even me and my fiance talk about this. So we we don't go to too many bars or party. I haven't had a drink in 6 years. She's like 4 years. But so when we do end up in a situation like that, or like the party that you and I met at in Scottsdale,
Yeah.
what I like to do is I like to go around and then I'm gonna say, all right, 5 minutes, make some small talk, and then pick one person and kind of like slowly drift them out to the side, and you get your deep one-on-one chat with someone. Cause like, yeah, just like bounce around like, hey, 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 like shaking hands, like,
Yeah.
okay, it just it doesn't fill you up. But you're doing this, you're doing this deep reflection. So something that I was taught that I started a couple years ago is at the end of every week, I look at every meeting I had. This takes 3 minutes. Every meeting I had, red, yellow, green. Red means fuck that. I'm not doing more of those. Yellow means if I'm gonna do them, they better be high leverage. For example, my tax meeting that I just had. It's a high leverage activity. You got to do it once in a while.
Yeah.
Green means I left with more energy than I came in, like this
Right.
podcast. I'm going to do more of those. And you just do that. And it's like a fear mindset. You have to let go of the other stuff. And I'm not good at it. My like weird guilty pleasure is answering emails, man. Like I'm like, it feels good to just clean the inbox and makes me feel like I'm an important person when usually that's some of my lowest leverage work. That's a thing that I need to let go of right there. I'll tell my
Right.
team I don't answer emails.
Yeah. Yeah. Just elimination. It's so empowering. And I found also, Sean, that like at each level of football, like from high school to college to the NFL, each level I did less and less until I was doing nothing. You know what I mean? I was in the NFL and I remember packing. We had our first game. My first NFL game was against Tampa Bay. And I started packing my bag. I got my helmet out of my locker, got my shoes, favorite cleats, got my pads, got, all my stuff in the bag. And the equipment manager of the Houston Oilers comes walking up to me. And I didn't really know him that well. And he goes, "Rookie, what are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I'm packing my bag. We play Tampa tomorrow. So I want to get all my stuff, and take it out to the bus so I can go to the airport and be there in Tampa." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no. You don't touch your stuff. Don't touch it." He goes, "That's my job. Now you're taking my job. Here's your job. We drafted you to do one thing: run fast." That's what thoroughbred racehorses do. They run and they run fast. They don't think about what they're going to eat. They don't think about if they're going to get a bath today. They do one thing. That's why we drafted you. You don't do anything. We're going to put food in your mouth. We're going to put a uniform on you. It's going to end up being in Tampa Bay magically, right? And so as I went up the ranks, you're a thoroughbred racehorse. You're doing absolutely nothing but running fast. And guess what? When you do one thing, you do it pretty good. You do it really well. And so that's kind of a dream life, right? Like if you think about it, like all the things that you shouldn't be doing that you could give to somebody else. And that's their job. That's their dream, is to fulfill on feeding you or financing you or whatever they're doing for you and with you, to fulfill on this dream that you're in this pursuit of. I said, man, that's cool. I like being a thoroughbred racehorse. It takes a lot off my plate.
But it's whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader in a business, a leader in a family, you just like something just like struck with me of like by hiring people to do stuff and letting them do it. Like the equipment manager was being serious, like, hey, you should just focus. But also he was like, don't take my job.
Yeah.
Like he's proud of that work. I could hire someone that's like proud to answer my inbox, like and stoked about it. And they're going to organize it well and do it better than I ever would and be more happy about it. And then I'm going to do more of my stuff. And I think then you start to get the world in alignment, and it's nice. That's cool.
Yeah. Everyone's dream is different. Everyone's like, that equipment manager, he had so much pride in that job. If there was a thread hanging from your sleeve of your uniform, that thing was repaired, right? Like I wasn't going to do that, but he takes pride in that. That's his dream. That's
Yeah.
his vision.
Yeah. Bo, anyone ever told you you're a good storyteller?
Yeah. Heard
Yeah.
that one
Once
before.
you, yeah. The thoroughbred horse. I'm going to steal that. All right. So before we even started working with you, I got to watch a keynote of you. It was amazing. It was really cool. You told a story about uh, being in practice with Jerry Rice,
Oh, yeah.
and you know the story. The backups are going half speed. He gets it. Boom.
Yeah.
100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Do you mind giving us a short bit of that story so people understand it? But what I want to ask is somebody that's so focused and disciplined on the journey, like Jerry Rice clearly was. I'd love to know, being around him, how like happy he was, because that is an extreme example of someone being so focused.
Yes. Very extreme. One of the greatest dudes ever. One of the happiest guys ever. Like loved being the best. Lo- And just so everybody has some background, he in 105 years of the NFL, that's a lot of players. That's a lot of great players. He was number one at one point, but I think Tom Brady maybe passed him with that last Super Bowl win. So the greatest player in 105 years to put a uniform on, that's saying something. You guys, he went to a school called Mississippi Valley State Nowhere, right? He, 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 no one knows him. No one knows about him. The 49ers draft him. He couldn't catch the ball. That's his job, is to catch the ball. He'd drop everything, right? His rookie year, his job was to catch the ball, and he would drop it all the time. This dude trained so hard that he never dropped a ball again. So at the end of my career, I played for the Houston Oilers. I got traded to the San Francisco 49ers. That was his team. So that team had Joe Montana, Steve Young, Ronnie Lott, Randy Cross, Roger Craig. I mean, that team won the Super Bowl. Jerry Rice is on that team, right? So I've been playing in the NFL for 4 years over in Houston. Now I'm on the greatest player in the history of the game. I'm on his team. And now I'm on his team. And now I had to play against this dude. That's a nightmare to play against a dude like that. I always say he has the most generous spirit. He gives more of himself than I've seen anybody else do. And he's a football player. I mean, I'm talking about anybody I've ever met. First day at training camp, I go out to practice. I was a driven player. I was a good player. I was a top pick. And I made this rule for myself when I was a kid that I was always going to be the first guy on the practice field. First guy. And for 20 years straight, nobody beat me. No one beat me on that field. I was always, for 20 years, the first guy out there because I wanted to be more prepared. I wanted to be great. When I put my San Francisco uniform on, first day of training camp, I walk out to the grass at Rockland, California, look around, and I say this to myself. Okay, 20 years. No one's got me yet. And then I look right over here, and guess who's standing right there? Jerry Rice. The greatest player in the history of the game has beat me to the practice field. No one beat me in 20 years. He is the first person out there. How could that be? It doesn't make sense, right? Like going, if he's so great, why does he have to be the first one out there? Well, he was. So Jerry and I start getting warmed up, just going through our own process, our own routine. And the rest of the team comes out. Joe Montana, Steve Young, Ronnie Lott, Randy Cross, they all come out. First thing you notice about Jerry Rice is, when you're in training camp, you're an NFL player, you have credibility, everyone knows you can play. And so you kind of warm up, kind of half-ass. You're kind of chilling. You kind of got what we call an all-pro glide, meaning you're just kind of going through the motions. and catching balls. And that's what all these receivers were doing. They were just chilling. They're elite players, but they're going about half speed, right? And they're catching balls. And then as soon as they catch it, they just stop, right? And then they'd run the ball back to Joe Montana and hand it to Joe Montana. And then he'd throw another ball and another ball. And this is how we warmed up. Then Jerry Rice came up in line, the greatest player in the history of the game for 105 years, is now coming up to warm-ups to catch a ball. He lines up and I'm like this, oh shit, I want to see what this dude does. He's probably really chill because he's the best. And he took off full speed. I'd never seen anything like full. He took 2 hours to get ready for that practice when everybody else was getting ready for practice during the practice. And he was going full 100 miles an hour, catches the ball, and rookies and people who never played with him, we didn't know he did this. So we're going, what the hell is he doing? Full speed, catches the ball. Now he's running 100 yards to the end zone. This is training camp. This is chill time. This is, let's not get injured. This is our time to, build a brotherhood. This dude, every time he caught a ball, regardless of what period it was, what we were working on, he went full speed, 100 miles an hour, caught the ball, ran all the way to the end zone, never stopped, never slowed down until he got in the end zone. Then he turned around, he ran all the way back, sprinted to Joe Montana and handed him the ball and got back in line. Over and over and over again. Every practice, you guys, every practice. This is every rep. I've never seen anything like it in 20 years. So I went up to him at the end of practice. I go, Jerry, come on, man. What the hell? What are you doing? Why you do that? Well, I never seen anybody do that. 20 years. Why you do it? And he goes, oh, that's simple, Bo. He's the nicest guy you ever met, right? Oh, Bo, that's very simple. I do that because every time these hands touch the ball, this body ends up in the end zone somewhere. And we could put the end zone 8 miles away, you guys. He wouldn't care. You could put the end zone on the opposite side of the freeway, and he would get his ass in the end zone. And I just remember in that moment going, there are no accidents. There are no accidents. This guy's willingness and generosity of spirit that he's willing to give to this ball and this game inspired so many other guys who were already great, guys like Ronnie Lott, guys like Joe Montana, guys like Roger Craig. They were so not going to be showed up by him that they started doing what he did, even though they were older and more veteran than he was. That's why you guys, there's nobody who can catch him as far as touchdown goes. He has scored the most touchdowns by far in the NFL, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to catch him, no matter how many rule changes they make, because this guy trained himself to be generous of spirit so that he was going full speed, not 99% of the time, all the time. And he would end up in the end zone. And guess what? In the NFL, in games, he has ended up in NFL end zones more than anyone else. And I swear, when I saw that shit, I was like, man, dude, because there are days in my life after I left the 49ers that I was fatigued or thinking about like my marriage and thinking about like what I'm building. And I thought, God, I'm really tired today. Maybe I can just give half effort today. And every time I do that, every time I attempt that, guess what? My body goes right to Jerry Rice. It goes right to him. You guys, years ago, I was asked to officiate a wedding, to marry this young couple, right? beautiful young couple up in Santa Barbara, outdoors, beautiful by the beach, right? And I'm the preacher man, but I'm not a preacher man. I can't marry people. And then I went on the internet, and like 8 minutes later, I was a preacher man, and so I officiated this wedding. Right. So I'm my first wedding that I've ever presided over. I didn't know what the hell to say. I didn't have any official language, but I bought this leather bound notebook that didn't have any writing in it because I wanted to look official. Like a preacher man seems to always have a leather bound something
Yeah.
book in his hands. So that's what I did. And I get up in front of this family and this beautiful couple. And the first thing out of my mouth of the first wedding I ever presided over was this. When I think of marriage, the first person I think of is Jerry Rice. The whole place goes crazy. Every guy at this wedding is standing up like this. Oh, yeah, this is my kind of wedding, finally.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because I was saying, if you give to this marriage, young couple, what Jerry Rice gave to that ball and gave to the game, that kind of spirit, that kind of generosity, then you will have an excellent marriage, a Hall of Fame marriage, if you'll do that like he did. And I explained it. Anyway, it really works. So anybody wants to use that for your next
Yeah, I'm getting married in a
wedding.
couple months. I'll
But
toss that over to.
and there's not a day I don't think about him, and it's fun to see him still, like, on doing interviews and stuff like that. And you'd never know because he's kind of regular. He's kind of just a normal
Yeah.
dude. He's sweet. He cares about people. This dude is an animal when it comes to having that ball in his hands. And then he doesn't want to be tackled. He wants to get in the end zone.
It's cool the impression that he left on his team members, on you. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about it 30 years later, but it's really really amazing. Bo, you have like a beautiful way to see these things and turn them into lessons, and like, because like I don't think generosity of spirit is something that most people are going to think about when someone's going hard at a game. And I like to, and I think you'll like relate to this, like giving it your all, going hard. I love sports and fitness because they're easy to measure, but that doesn't always mean it has to be like intense, right? Like,
Yeah.
good example. After this, I told Emma, my fiance, we are going to take a long walk. It's going to be a slow walk. I'm going to be wearing flip-flops. To me, that's giving everything I can to the relationship. My phone will be back at the hotel, and we made a commitment. We're going to do that and enjoy it. And it's like, I think for those of you that maybe are like, hey, I hear the message, but I can't go 100 miles an hour. I don't play football. It's not just that. Or if
Yeah.
you're starting a business, not my business has been pretty successful over the last 6 years, and I'm pretty young, so I have a bunch of friends that are like, all right, like I want to start a business. What do I need to do? I'm like, wake up with a single focus goal and work at it every day, 7 days a week for 6 years. That's what I did. It's like, and it works every time, like every single time.
I've never heard it not working. And so why aren't more people actually doing that? I think that's so funny. And and when you see a guy like Jerry Rice, so that's a mastery of a certain thing. But mastery equals mastery, right? So it doesn't matter what occupation you have or what you want to master. It's a function of mastery is just a function of, I'm never going to graduate from this. I'm going to continue to get better until I take my last breath. And that's mastery, right? So most people ask me, they go, well, what if you want to switch then? What if Jerry Rice wants to switch, being a wide receiver, being the greatest football player? What if he wants to switch into being an author? I go, if he wanted to be the greatest author of all time, I bet he could beat Shakespeare. I bet he could. Given enough time, he could pass everybody, because I think he understands that mastery equals mastery. And what I mean by that is, if you master one thing, you master all things. The principles remain the same, whether you want to be the best receiver to ever walk on a football field or you want to be the best playwright in the world. It is exactly the same discipline, the same principles apply. That's why I always say to my kids, hey, let's just turn this into mastery. This volleyball or this position called quarterback or this being a chef. If let's master that. Let's you master that. That way, you automatically get mastery wherever you go, meaning in your future marriages and in your future parenting and any occupation that you have after you get done with your first career. And you can transition right into the next career with the same principles of mastery because master one thing, master all things.
Mm, that's beautiful, Bo. I think that's a good place to wrap this thing up. Building the skill of mastery, right? Building the discipline to be a master, right? Of something. So, I got to, I enjoyed it, man. I think it's no doubt you're doing what you're doing with your career right now because you're very captivating in the way that you communicate. And I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you having me.